If successful and unsuccessful people share the same goals, then the goal cannot be what differentiates the winners from the losers. James Clear. You have the power to be the boss of your own life. I'm your host, Monica Allen. I'm a wife, mom, entrepreneur, best-selling author, lifelong learner, and your biz bestie. I have a love and passion for all things small business. Growing my own company from $700 to over 7 figures annually, my goal is to bring you inspiration, business-focused topics and tips, encouragement, and a community that helps you launch, grow, and scale your business, whether you are a dreamer, a side hustler, or a seasoned entrepreneur. You are listening to the Become Your Own Boss podcast. It's hard to believe we're almost halfway through 2024. With June coming to a close, now is a perfect time to revisit the goals you set for yourself and your business at the beginning of this year. When was the last time you reviewed your goals? Honestly, I can't even find the piece of paper I wrote mine on at the start of the year, but fortunately, I use images to represent each of my goals. I then take those images and create a vision movie, which serves as a daily reminder of my goals as they appear on my Apple Watch. In this episode, I want to give you a bit of a homework assignment as we move into the second half of this year. An assignment that will help you get the goals you want set for yourself done. The first step is to review and reflect. I want you to set aside 30 minutes to an hour to review your goals for the first half of 2024. Write down your reflections on what worked, what didn't, and why. Write down what you got done and those things that you didn't get done. The second part to that, though, I want you to celebrate. Celebrate your successes. Write down at least 3 things you're proud of achieving. They don't have to be huge. Celebrate those. Take a moment to celebrate those. Then I want you to identify at least 3 challenges or obstacles that hindered your progress on some of your goals. I know for me, as I look through my images of my goals, there's definitely things that I haven't gotten done. But those images remind me of what I desire to get done. And truthfully, you may decide that some of them aren't as important as they were in the beginning of 2024. So the third step is to reassess and plan. Reassess your goals, meaning determining which ones are still relevant and adjust as you need to. And then you want to create a detailed action plan for the next 6 months, which will include specific steps and deadlines. So this is the big one. To create a detailed action plan, this is the big part of your homework assignment. At the top of this episode, I shared a powerful quote from James Clear. If successful and unsuccessful people share the same goals, then the goal cannot be what differentiates the winners from the losers. Now, I don't necessarily like the words winners and losers because I also have the quote from Nelson Mandela resonating in my head that says, I either win or I learn, but I never lose. And that was a paraphrase. That's not exactly how he said it. But I don't necessarily like the words winners and losers. However, if you look at athletes, there are some that rise to the top. And because of that, there is somehow a difference between those who are successful in accomplishing the goal of winning and those who don't win. So I want to talk about that because, and I really wanted to share this quote because it resonated deeply with me. And especially after catching James Clear's Masterclass on a Delta flight during my recent travels. Now, if you don't know who James Clear is, he wrote the book Atomic Habits, which is amazing. If you haven't read that book, do take time to read this. In seeing his masterclass on this Delta flight, it reinforced to me that this would be the topic I would discuss this week. I had already planned on covering this, being that we're at the end of the first half of 2024, but this just kind of put a cap on it. Really made me think, okay, this is what I need to talk about this week. You see, James Clear emphasizes that achieving our goals is not just about setting them, but it's about establishing a system to reach them. And this made me realize that while I've always set milestones to accomplish my goals, milestones being small steps to get my goals done, I haven't always thought deeply about the systems and habits I use to achieve them. Clear's idea is that systems and habits are what truly drive success. For instance, one of the systems I unconsciously use towards one of my goals of organizing and reducing the amount of stuff around me is before making a purchase, I give it a lot more thought than I used to, asking myself if I really need it and where will it be in 1 to 2 years. I also regularly remove or donate items we no longer use or need. This ensures my environment stays organized and focused. And the image of this in my vision movie is the words reduce, reuse, recycle written in sand on a beach. I love the beach. And so I look at this image and I emphasize in the image the word reduce because I took this image in the Canva and I actually underlined the word reduce because I want to have less stuff that take up space around me. And so even though for me, that's an unconscious habit, James Clear really reiterates the fact that habits and systems is what gets a goal accomplished. Here's how you can apply this to your goals. Set milestones. I talk about this because this is something that I've always done with my goals. I take a goal, I break it down into smaller, manageable steps, also known as milestones. And I write these milestones down. What I'm not great at always doing, though, is setting deadlines for each of them. And I do recommend you do that. Writing them down, though, is vital. You have to write down your goals. You have to write down your milestones for getting those goals accomplished. Now, again, I did not find my piece of paper prior to doing this episode. I honestly didn't really look, though, because I do rely heavily on the images that I've created that remind me of each of my goals. So I know the paper's on my desk somewhere, but I'm not overly stressed about that. Vision is key, though. Writing it down allows you to visualize it, but actually putting concrete images alongside that is just another way to set the intention. And then establishing a system, which is what James Clear talks about. You know, really thinking about the habits and routines that will help you achieve the milestones and creating a daily or weekly schedule that incorporates these habits. So what I loved about listening to James Clear's Masterclass is he really focuses on habits. And again, if you haven't read Atomic Habits, do take the time to do that. But when you identify habits that support your goals, you're more likely to get them done because they become routine. A habit is something that is routine. So for example, if your goal is to write a book, which is one of my goals, a key habit might be writing for 30 minutes every day. Now, I have not gotten in the habit of doing that, but I know that if I actually want to accomplish getting a book written, and I have written a book in the past, and at that time, I was 15 years younger, I guess. I actually had a habit of weekly going to a place that I really enjoyed, and I would write for about 2 hours, and then I'd treat myself with breakfast at this location. So that became a habit until I finished this book. So establishing a habit to get a goal done is really important, and you want to make the habit non-negotiable. It becomes part of your routine. You think about someone who is focused on fitness, then they're working out every single day at a specific time. I have fallen off of this, but one of the routines I do have is walking every evening. So you have to figure out what works for you, but I feel like that is an important part, an important habit for me in staying fit and staying healthy. Once you have done those things, you've gotten your milestones, you have your system, you're focusing on the habits that's going to get your goals done, you want to regularly assess your progress and adjust your systems and habits as needed. Because we may have to do that. If you have that goal of writing the book, it may be that you write 30 minutes in the morning. You may have to adjust that if it doesn't work for you anymore and write 30 minutes in the evening or write 15 minutes a day. But you have to figure out what works best for you. Because if something isn't working, you have to be willing to be flexible and find a better approach. And that's one of the things that another takeaway from James Clear's Masterclass is asking yourself, is there a better way to solve a problem? Which we'll talk about that another time. I thought that was such a great question. And not that your goal is necessarily a problem, but is there a better way to accomplish this goal? Or is there a better habit to establish to accomplish this goal? So these are just things to think about, because in order for us to get our goals done, we have to create a system. And I've never really thought about it from that perspective. I have my milestones, but I never really thought about it from a systematic, a conscious, systematic perspective. Lastly, now that we've reviewed our goals that we set at the beginning of 2024, we've celebrated those things that we've gotten done so far. We've reassessed those that are important still and those that may not be important anymore. Not only that, we've created a plan. Now it's time to find accountability. And what does that mean? This means sharing your goals and your action plan with a friend, a mentor, or a community group. And you want to make sure you schedule regular check-ins to review your progress and stay accountable. I recently began working with an executive coach, and I love this because it allows me to have someone to hold me accountable. I have set up short-term goals, and my executive coaching is really from a business perspective. We're not really covering my personal goals, but my business goals. And so I have short-term goals, medium-term goals, and long-term goals. And underneath those, I have listed out 5 goals. And under each goal, I have 5 milestones. Now, taking it a step further, I've got to figure out my systems for getting those done. So accountability is important, because when I know that I'm meeting with her, I know I've got to go to the table with having something done towards my goal. As you can see, I'm very passionate about this. I love talking about goals because I feel that my goal setting journey that I began back in college, thanks to my grad advisor when I was a resident assistant, has allowed me to grow our business, stay in shape, produce this podcast, spend time with my family, travel the world, and so much more. I like to call it living life by my design. My goals allow me to set the intention to get done what I want to accomplish in my life. And you may already have this down, but if you do not, I am here to help. If you need assistance setting goals, determining your milestones, and or establishing your systems, I will be having an absolutely free Zoom meeting to help you with all of this. And this will take place on Monday, July 8th. I know that's after a holiday weekend, so hopefully, or here in the U.S., it's after a holiday weekend. So hopefully you can pop on from 11:30 to 12:45 Eastern Standard Time. I may look at adding another one later in the week in the evenings, but I'm going to see how many of you are able to join me during this time. And it's going to be more of an open house style meeting. So you can pop in and pop off as needed. You don't have to come at the beginning and stay through the whole thing. But what you do have to do is register for me. I'm going to put a link in the show notes. I'm also going to have the link available on my Instagram bio. So if you want to join me, you can register for the Live Life by Your Design workshop. And again, the link will be in the show notes. I would love to see you. I would love to talk about your goals for yourself, for your business, whatever the case may be. But we can walk through setting up those systems, thinking through the habits that will perhaps help you better get those things accomplished as we move through this last half of 2024. Wow, this year has flown by. I want to say thank you so much for listening today. I'm grateful for you. Do me a favor and take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. And if you are a regular listener to the podcast, please pop over to Apple or Spotify and leave a quick written review. This really helps others discover the podcast, and it helps the podcast grow and help more people become their own boss. Now, I know summer is a time that we all want to relax and kick back a bit, as we should. But don't forget about those goals that you set for yourself at the beginning of this year. And remember that now is the time. Now is the time to level up, leave a legacy, and become your own boss.